Hey everyone, welcome. I'm Naomi, and today I want to share just a little mini tutorial on a very fancy yoga pose known as mermaid pose. Now, mermaid pose is one of those poses that's like frequently on the cover of yoga journal or in calendars because it looks really pretty. And it's a fairly complex pose. It's a little bit of a challenging pose, but often people get into it into some really bizarre ways that make the pose a little bit more precarious, can feel tweaky in your shoulders, and it's like trying to get into the shape instead of trying to do all of the steps along the way that you need to do in order to get there. Now, what you're going to see next is something that I just clipped from a class that I taught today, in fact, as I'm recording this. It's one of the 60-minute classes that I record in my online studio, Move with Naomi. And I was teaching mermaid pose, and I broke it down in a way that made really clear all of the steps that you need to take in order to get there. Now, I do want to say I don't do any warm-up before going into this because this is towards the end of the class. So stay tuned at the very end of this video to get information about how you could get access to the entire class so that you know all of the really fantastic warm-ups that you need to do in order to feel more stable and more satisfied and more prepared for the complex, fun, fancy pose that is mermaid pose. So, are you ready to dive on in and make a splash in mermaid pose? See what I did there? I know, super corny. I can't help it. Okay, well, let's do it, and I'll see you on the other side. Go in that direction, so right knee forward, pigeon pose. Now, if you are like, oh, no thank you. Thank you, mermaid. You could do a forward folded pigeon and just be happy there. You could also take an early Shavasana. Be good there. Okay, but bend your left knee, reach for your left foot. Now there are, again, a lot of bus stops here, a lot of places where you can like stop. So this would be the first one, like grabbing your foot. And if this is as far as you get, and even like tucking your right foot closer in towards your hip, next stop would be pulling your foot in. Next stop would be angling your elbow around your foot and then using that to rotate your torso more forward. Then it's arm up, then it's reach back, and then maybe like, oh, is there something there? I don't know. Some people do it more where like you keep rotating here and you try to like then turn forward, and I find that like that's not as great. Okay, let that go. That's enough. Yeah, I know. And then second side, right knee forward. Pigeon pose.
I've not tried mermaid in a long time.
Me neither. It's just not a pose that I do anymore.
I haven't done it in years.
Well, thank you for suggesting it because I think that it's instructive for both of us. Left leg forward.
We're going everywhere there that we needed to get there. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But sometimes even that happens and it's like, well, let's just do Shavasana instead. But okay, so I'm gonna go through these steps of mermaid again because I actually think it's really important. So the first step is just, it might be a tighter pigeon, right? So bringing your heel closer in, okay? The second step is then you've got to like walk like we did. You have to walk out towards your foot. So you have to rotate towards your right leg, then you pull your foot in. Right? And that might be it. You might get here and be like, cool, this is enough. And then it's like, oh, can I get my elbow around my foot? Now, the mistake that a lot of people make, you can come out right now. Like if you're done, you can come out. The mistake that a lot of people make is like doing something like this, where they clasp first and then try to like get over that way. And that requires a lot of shoulder mobility. Do you know what I mean? And you've got to stay upright, or people like land on their butt and then they try to do this here, and that doesn't work either. So you've really got to squeeze in, pull your foot in, hook around the foot, then use that to rotate forward. And if this is where you stop, this is your mermaid. And then it's bending the elbow and reaching. But if you try to do any of the other steps first, you can let go and come out. If you try to do any of the other steps first, it's going to end in, saying that it's going to end in disaster, I think is like, it's maybe a little extreme, but it's basically saying to your body, I want to bypass these things to get to the shape, to get to the end, instead of making sure that I'm taking the steps along the way to get there. Right? So instead of bypassing, it's like, do each step. You know, like, can you grab your foot? Cool. Can you hook your elbow and maintain it? Cool. Can you then rotate and hold it? No? Okay, that's where your mermaid is. Right? Then, can you take your arm up, bend your elbow? Oh, can you grab your fingers? Cool. But if you bypass anything to get there, it's probably going to end in something not feeling good, like a tweakiness. Like you might land in the shape, but it might not feel like you want it to feel for a long time, right? So anyway, mermaid pose. All right, so now that you have all of those steps in your mind of how to get into mermaid in a way that feels not only satisfying, but also supportive and steady, let's do it one more time on each side. Okay, so take your right knee forward, pigeon pose. Okay, and just thinking about those different steps along the way where you might have work to do, and that's okay. Okay, so the first step might be just angling your right heel in a little bit more so that you can squeeze in and bring your hands up to your hips. Right? So if this is still where you're working, this is a good place to work. Next step is to walk your hands out over your right foot, bend your left knee so that you can reach for your left foot. It's a lot harder to reach for your foot when you're still pointing forward, right? So you walk out, grab your left foot, and you want to reach for that big toe side of your foot so you're gripping over the foot from the big toe side and pull it in. Okay, and then you see, can I bring my hand up to my shin? Can I lift my hand up off the floor? And if you can't, this is that place where you are stopping and doing the work so that you are ready for the next step. Okay, so if you can bring your hand to your shin, cool. If you can lift your hand, cool, because the next step is, can I slide my left elbow around my left foot? Okay, and then lift my hand. Can I lift my hand here? Then I've got to rotate a little bit forward. Not all the way, I'm not trying to get completely forward, but just enough that I'm not still angled toward this right foot in the same direction. Okay, rotate forward. Left palm spins up. Woo. Then right arm goes up. Then I bend my elbow and grab my foot. Or not grab my foot, grab my fingers. And that's a lot. So after that, I'm going to let it go. Come on out. Stretch out my legs. You can go back to dog after that, but I want to stretch them here. This is what feels good for me for right now. Whew. Because that's a lot, right? That's a lot on your right leg to hold you up, okay? So you can go back to dog if you did not automatically. And then again, take your left knee forward, pigeon pose. So left knee forward. And I will turn so that you can see that side. But notice how high up off the ground my left butt is. I do not want to be on my left butt to grab my foot here because it's not going to give me the stability that I think. I also don't want to put a block under my butt there, right? I don't want this because, again, when I do that, all that's doing, if the block is under my butt, all that's doing is like getting me wrapped around here and twisting me so that my low back is actually getting more of the bend. And that's not going to feel great either. So I would avoid the block there, just even if you think that it's going to help you grab your foot. Okay, it's not. So your butt is going to be off the ground. That's fine. Squeeze your heels in. Okay, then walk over your left foot, bend your right knee, reach for your right foot. This might be your stop where you do the work. Or you can pull your right foot in. So your right hand is wrapped over your right foot from the big toe side. You bend your elbow. Ooh, can I lift my hand to my shin? Can I bring my hand to my thigh? Nope. Okay, then I'm working on the squeeze to get the lift. Next step, can I slide my foot into the crook of my elbow? And can I spin my palm and my fingers to point up? Okay, can I do that then while rotating my torso forward? Okay, if I can hold on to all of that, left arm goes up, bend the elbow, grab the fingers. Whee! And then you can let it all go. Maybe go back to dog. Maybe give your hips a little bit of a shake, a little wiggle. Maybe even you come on up. Do a little happy dance for whatever stage in Mermaid you got to. Okay, so lots of things to work on there. Thank you so much for tuning in to my mermaid pose tutorial. I hope that was really helpful in terms of clearing up some of the sort of misunderstandings about the pose in terms of alignment, some of the ways that we sort of cheat our way into the pose to make it look like we're doing it to get into the shape, but maybe not getting into it rather in a way that is, stable and supported. And I don't want to say safe because that's not necessarily accurate. That's a very fear-mongery way of approaching anything in yoga, but in a way that doesn't feel so, cranky in your shoulders or so tweaky in your low back, right? So it gives you some very clear steps along the way that you can work on so that you can feel a lot more supported and a lot more prepared for the full pose and know when you're ready to move on to the next place. Okay, so hopefully that's what this video provided for you. Now, if you do want access to the full class that shares all of the amazing warm-ups that we did in order to get here, all of the build-up that led us to this pose, you can check out my online studio, Move with Naomi. This class was 60 minutes long. I don't often teach 60-minute long classes, but I do once a month for both tiers of the online studio, Move with Naomi and Move 15. So no matter whether you're a member of one or the other, you have access to this class. And you also would get access to my full library of videos, meditation, self-care practices, pranayama, all sorts of things. And there's a lot in there, not just mermaid, so many other poses, exercises, strength-based classes, mobility. It is a massive library. And every month, I actually not only give you a pose that you are working on all month long or an exercise that you're working on all month long to help you get more consistent with that pose so it feels more familiar and stronger and steadier, but I also give you a calendar every month that you can build up in different ways, not only toward that pose, to other poses and exercises that support it, so that you might be working on hips and core for 1 month, and then shoulders and strong legs for another, or inversions in another. So it gives you a whole month's worth every month of sort of a map to lead you from the beginning of the month to the end so that you have things to do every day of the month if you choose that lead you in the same direction. So if this class is interesting to you and you want to take the whole class, then check out the link in the description below and you can use the code, the coupon code, that's YouTube50 to get 50% off your first 2 months. So basically you get a month for free, which is a pretty sweet deal. So if you are interested, then you can go on and use that code YouTube50, all caps for YouTube, and use the link to click and join Move and get access to this, learn a little bit more about Mermaid, build up more to it, have your hips feel amazing along the way, and also have access to the entire library of classes and live classes with me if that's something you're into. So thanks for joining in today. If you want more tutorials like this, please leave a comment and let me know what pose you would like to see, and I would be happy to share it. Until next time, thank you for being here, and I will see you again on the mat soon. Bye, everyone.